Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
Comelec calls out more local bets ahead of the midterm polls for alleged insensitive remarks and campaign materials.
U.S. President Donald Trump backpedals on tariffs, announcing a 90-day pause on hikes that hit dozens of countries.
The Department of Foreign Affairs has confirmed the deaths of 2 overseas Filipino workers who had been missing following the 7.7 magnitude earthquake that struck Myanmar.
And the Philippine Basketball Association, or PBA, goes retro to mark its 50th anniversary. The Foreign Affairs Department confirms the death of 2 overseas Filipino workers who went missing following the magnitude 7.7 earthquake that struck Myanmar. Here's a report.
More than a week after a devastating 7.7 magnitude earthquake struck Myanmar, families are still unsure about the fate of their loved ones. Local residents and humanitarians said the country's lack of internet access is severely hampering efforts to identify victims and coordinate relief. The military junta, which took control in 2021, has long restricted digital communication, cutting off internet access in almost a third of the country. An aid worker said that in some blackout-hit areas, residents must travel for days to reach a connection point and call in their needs. Experts warn that the current digital blackout is turning a natural disaster into a prolonged humanitarian crisis. The United Nations also cautioned that survivors are at high risk of disease as the health system is completely overwhelmed.
Very high risk of waterborne diseases with the urban water pipe systems broken, water storage facilities damaged. And sanitation is now becoming a big issue as people who have been forced out of their homes are resorting to open defecation. The health system is completely overwhelmed. Hospitals are unable to cope with the number of patients they're dealing with. There's an incredible short supply of medicines and medical supplies.
Meanwhile, the Department of Foreign Affairs has confirmed that the remains of 2 of the 4 missing Filipinos in Mandalay have been found. The DFA has informed the victims' families, but out of respect for their grief, no further details will be released at this time. The death toll from the earthquake has now surpassed 3,600 as retrieval operations continue.
Well,
tagal pa yung retrieval operations na yan dahil sa damage major
initially
damage
when we spoke to Yusek De Vega for yung missing, now confirmed sa 4 na yun, 2 yung patay. Well, I don't know if we're still looking for the other 2. As the days come, we will know if it's already retrieval already, diba, for closure. But with that, kasi we have already Undersecretary, DFA Undersecretary Ed De Vega on the line with us. Yusek, thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Yes, Yusek, medyo sad news nga, no, na 2 confirmed na yung patay po sa atin mga kababayan dyan sa Myanmar. Ano po ang updates natin regarding this?
Well, so 2 consecutive days, no? It helped our NBI team followed with the equipment. In Myanmar lang, they don't have the capability to positive identification. We were able to get the assistance of the next of kin who gave mga indications, yung buhok nila, yung ngipin, kung ano yung itsura nila.
Yes,
to confirm the identity.
Now, si Mr. One of them, the first one, Mr. Francis Arbon, well, possible that relatives will fly to the young girl to bring home the remains. So, the remains will be cremated tayo, no? Kasi, hindi pa cremated, they're in a bad state of decomposition now.
Okay.
Punan nila yung dalawa.
Okay.
Yung mag-asawa. And what we plan to do, well, we'll see samples from the families in Dumaguete. Kasi
Oo. Yusek, oo. Yusek, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but can you repeat what you said? Kasi po medyo nagpuputol-putol po kayo at baka pwede pong pihit po tayo ng konti para po sa mas magandang signal. So as you were saying, i-cremate po muna yung ating yung dalawang Filipino na confirmed po dead from Myanmar earthquake bago po sila mapadala dito, and the families have already been in contact with you guys po.
Opo, the families have been in contact. And we're trying to get more DNA samples naman for the two others na still unaccounted for. Kasi there are two bodies which may be them,
Okay.
Dun sa matagal na discover.
Yeah.
And it could be them, pero wala pang, there's no way to make public because of the compulsion. So, nakikiramay tayo ng families.
Are we arranging po ba na yung families po nitong mga biktima po ng earthquake sa Myanmar to go there po muna sa Myanmar before makremate yung kanilang mga labi?
No, we can arrange that they go there, but we can't stop the cremation kasi Myanmar, Myanmar environmental law, kasi the competition
procedure nila yan.
And we told the families this, and we told them, pati yung NBI is part of it, DSWD. They should remember their loved ones, the way they look, not the way ganito, na horrible yung decomposition. You don't want to see your loved ones.
Yes. Yun. So Yusek, para clear lang, Yusek, so two unconfirmed dead, we have two unconfirmed possible na yung sinasabi natin, kababayan natin. Are there any other reports of missing Filipino workers dyan sa Myanmar, Yusek?
No, awa ng Diyos po. What we're doing now is working for the Filipinos in Mandalay to be transferred to Yangon. They're being transferred little by little because we did the Mandalay.
Yun nga po gusto namin kamustahin po yung iba po nating mga kababayan dyan sa Mandalay kasi we are seeing photos and videos po dyan dun sa nangyari, and of course reports saying na until now po ay may mga kakulangan pa rin po, hirap po sa supply ng kuryente, sa tubig, sa pagkain. Can you give us an update on that po, Yusek?
Well, that's true, but one encouraging sign, the airport is functional again.
Okay, that's cool.
Mandalay. The employers, some of the employers are themselves the ones in mga schools bringing them transformed. No joke from Mandalay to drive to Yangon because of the conditions of the roads, because of the earthquake, not at least 12 hours. And right now, they're over 50. We brought there and we're housing them in shelters. No? Ang awa ng Diyos, well, Thailand, walang affected. And Myanmar, well, the problem nga lang, they haven't yet indicated na gusto na umuwi kasi they're worried na hindi balik sa Myanmar. But it all depends on the employers. If kung nagkarang school sila or what, kung bibigat nila, no? So, our government joined in the, in expressing our condolences, not just to them, but for all the victims. By the way, salamat din sa Myanmar because they allowed our contingency to be split. Merong, originally gusto nila lahat sa capital, sa Naypyidaw. Yung almost 100 people natin. Yeah. But now some are in Mandalay. Because doon ang din ang mga Pilipino na meeting. Doon ang mga Pilipino na kailangan ng tulong. So, sa Naypyidaw, there's less than 30 Filipinos there. And they're all right. Accounted for.
And what kind of assistance po yung kailangan po nila?
Well, kailangan nila shelter. And that's what we're doing then. As for something we cannot give, we cannot give guarantees about the jobs because we particularly Myanmar companies, no? Kung we can help them, kung gusto na ma-repatriate, and of course we'll give them financial assistance, which is standard, no? Na pag dito.
Pero as of now po ba, meron po bang indication na yung karamihan po sa ating mga kababayan doon ay gusto magpa-repatriate?
No, although Secretary Kakdak of DMW claim said that there are. So, to talk to him there, maybe he's talking to a different group, because our embassy is in touch, and there's one. There's one. By the way, what date is today?
April 10 po.
10. There is April 12 flight ng one of the C-130s
pauwi.
Uuwi. And then pwedeng sumama doon yung mga gustong magpa-repatriate as soon as possible. And they have been told this. Otherwise, may commercial flight that is scheduled.
Okay, Yusek, you mentioned a while ago na yung mga under contract medyo magkakaproblema. Ano po proseso ng mga under contract na gusto umuwi?
Well, kung gusto umuwi yan, they just have to tell us in writing na gusto na umuwi. Kasi we will meron ng funds yung embassy, standby funds to pay commercial flights. Pagdating dito, sasalubugin niya ng all of government reports. Yung DFA, OWA, DMW, DSWD, DOH, certainly, because they're traumatized. And then, by the way, we have DSWD people on the ground as well. So, pagdating dito, susubukan ni reintegration. Now, as for yung return doon, Myanmar is in under alert level 2, meaning wala tayong dinideploy na worker. But we can redeploy, meaning ibalik yung mga nandun na legal. And that includes these Filipinos. Nandyan. But the question is, are they going to have something to return to? Because it will take time for Myanmar to recover.
That's right.
Yusek, yung ano din po doon, kamusta naman po yung mga medical assistance team na pinadala po natin doon? Kamusta po yung pagtulong nila doon? And hanggang kailan po sila tutulong doon po sa Myanmar?
Yes. Yung team natin is there on the 18th of April, April 18th. They have in fact recovered, our teams have recovered other bodies, hindi mga Filipinos, no? From the rubble. So they have been of great assistance. And Myanmar government, of course, is grateful for that. At saka masaya tayo na nakapagpadala tayo.
Yeah.
Kasi magpapadala naman tayo kahit na walang Pilipinong saktan. Kasi yan, walang politics dito. Alam mo, walang popular yung government ng Myanmar. By the way, this is not the same as the Filipinos whom we are repatriating from the other side of Myanmar, yung katabi ng Thailand. Doon, hindi epektado sila ng lindol. Pero may mga scammers, if you remember, may mga human trafficking victims. We've already sent over 200 recently. Just the other day, may repatriate na 6 pa. So, mga kababayan, nakita nyo, nagkalindol sa Thailand, sa Myanmar. Kung may mga pangako sa inyo, na may mga trabaho sa Thailand, makang baksak na lang ninyo magiging victim. So, right now, lalo na
let's err to the safe side na lang muna.
Wag muna mga kababayan. Sumunod lang sa mga patakaran natin.
Alright. On that note, maraming salamat po muli sa inyong oras sa DFA Undersecretary Ed De Vega. Thank you so much, sir.
Alright, the COMELEC has called out more local bets ahead of the midterm polls for alleged insensitive remarks and campaign materials. Here's our report.
That campaign jingle of Mocha Uson did not sit well with COMELEC. The full body wrote her a letter for what it called were, quote, sexually suggestive elements in her campaign. Mocha, who is running for councillor in Manila, vowed to stop the use of materials in question.
Let us put an end to this. Yan lang naman po. Itigil na lang po muna yung pagpapalabas niyan. Kung nagkagastos po dyan, ganun po talaga yung consequence niyan. Kasi sana po naman, ay napag-isipan muna natin bago natin inilabas o bago natin ginamit yung isa pong materyales na maaari po maka-offend sa sensitivities and sensibilities ng mga tao, lalo na po mga kababaihan.
But unlike Mocha Uson, Pasig City Congressional candidate Ian Sia is on a more defensive mode. In his response to a show cause order issued by COMELEC, Sia invoked freedom of speech, saying that while his words may sound brash, his speech in its entirety falls within this right. He was under fire for telling single mothers in a campaign sortie that they can sleep with him once a year. He received another show cause order for supposedly body shaming one of his staff. Aside from Sia, re-election is Misamis Oriental Governor Peter Onabia and Batangas Gubernatorial Bet J. Ilagan have also received show cause orders for alleged discriminatory remarks.
Expected po natin yan. Pinag-aralan naman po namin yan lahat ng aming pong task force bago namin ilabas ang lahat ng show cause orders. Anticipated namin kung ano yung lahat ng isasagot nila. Alam din po namin kung ano yung isasagot nila. At more or less alam na rin ng task force namin kung anong gagawin after matanggap yung mga kasagutan na ito.
For News 5, Camille Samonte, we are One News.
Well, tingnan natin yung mangyayari kay Mocha dahil sabi ni Chairman George Garcia, walang sorry-sorry. Pag nanglabag ka na, wala nang sorry to.
Pero in fairness to her, nung sinabihan siya, she recognized daw yung mga dapat gawin at immediately pinatigil niya yung pagpapatugtog ng kanyang campaign jingle. Wala nang but, wala nang whatsoever,
pero,
wala na siyang sinabi na, wala nang justification no whatsoever.
Pero malinaw naman kasi sinabi ni Chairman George saka ni spokesperson Rex Laudianco na pag ginawa mo na, wala nang sorry kasi linabag mo na. We have to set an example, sabi nila. So,
yun nga, I remember kasi talking to Attorney Rex Laudianco, COMELEC spokesperson, last week ata yun, ano?
Tayo,
and asking him, sabi ko, ito po bang task force safe po ninyo? Kasama po dyan yung mga jingle na medyo may mga iba yung, may hidden meaning or merong iba pang pinagtutuntunan. At sabi niya, actually, it stemmed nga daw yung kanilang task force safe doon sa ganyan. It started because of yung before, yung may Pacheco na jingle. Tapos sabi, di ba sinabi nga natin dito, yung kay Mocha, tapos sabi nila, they will check. So ito na nga yung nangyari doon. And yun nga, brace yourselves doon sa mga iba pang kandidato na akala nila na sila ay Diyos, hari-harian sa town nila na hindi kaya nilang, alam mo yun, kung ano-ano lang yung pwede nilang sabihin. That ends here
Tsaka
na.
dapat smarter din yung kababayan natin. If sa campaign pa lang ganyan na ugali, what more when you're in power? Kaya mag-isip kayo bago kayo cast ang votes nyo.
Totoo yan. So alamin natin, kasi marami ng mga show cause orders ang nirelease ang COMELEC, di ba? Kay Congressman Ian Sia, yung governor sa Misamis.
Si Onabia.
Tapos meron ulit ngayon na isa pa I forgot na, naman to, yung rival naman niya na may cancer, yung kanyang tinitira, yung kinikriticize. So isa rin yan dun sa mga nilabasan ng order ng COMELEC. Alright. In other news, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee is set to resume its inquiry into the arrest of former President Rodrigo Duterte today, April 10. Justice Secretary Boyeng Remulla and CIDG Chief of Police Major General Nicolas Torre, along with other officials, are expected to attend the hearing. Senator Amy Marcos had previously expressed disappointment after cabinet officials skipped the second hearing. Meanwhile, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro suggested that Senator Amy invite additional legal experts to provide a broader perspective and a clearer understanding of the issue.
Kasi parang sinasabi ni yung Attorney Claire tsaka ni Executive Secretary, kulang ang legal luminaries in invite kasi one side. At saka from the start, yung attorney na yon already shared on a piece sa Facebook tsaka sa mga books niya on international law. So alam na natin yung side niya. So they want another side para if you're going to craft a law, if it's in aid of legislation, you can balance out yung legislation na ilalabas mo.
Yes. Kasi siyempre, ang mga nagkikriticize nga dito sa hearing na to, sinasabi nila, aside from of course, sabi ni Senator Bongo, too late a hero. At saka, ang sabi ni Attorney Salpanelo, in aid of election daw.
Aid of election.
Aside from that, there are also critics that are saying na ano pa ba yung gusto mong malaman dito? Because set naman na yung mind ni Senator Amy Marcos na mali yung ginawa ng
so, ba't ka pa
administrasyon na to sa pag-aresto kay
tsaka you have the detail. If it's in aid of legislation, some of them say na sa napanood nila, nakuha mo na lahat ng kailangan mong makuha. So why don't you just craft a law based on that already, di ba? Kasi you're inviting the same resource persons who will say the same things.
Yes.
Di ba? So just craft, sabi nila, just craft your proposed legislation, tapos
file necessary
complaints against people na gusto mo kasuhan. Kasi magkaka-stalemate kayo niyan eh. Magkakabanggaan kayo.
At saka parang nasasayang lang yung resources natin. Di ba? Pera natin yan
Sabi nga
ginagamit nila sa hearing.
Napakadali lang, hearing ka pa, di kumatok ka sa kapatid mo, mag-usap kayo, may nagsabi ng gano'n.
Let's see kung a-attend this time around si VP Sara in person. Kasi the first time she appeared via Zoom kasi she was still in The Hague. Now that she's here back in the Philippines, tignan natin if she's going to appear there physically. Diba?
Okay, Hanilet Avancenia, common law wife of former President Rodrigo Duterte, insisted that arresting the former president was a wrong move. Avancenia said those behind Duterte's arrest will go to hell. Despite this, she shared that the former president was not angry about his detention.
Alam mo, I will just let God do the revenge for us. Diyos, hindi nila maano yan. Hanggang apo yan nila. Hanggang apo ng apo nila. Hanggang doon ang ano nila. Hanggang doon ang parusa ng Diyos. Kaya yung mga gumawa sa kanya nito,
gabaan na ma'am.
Impyerno kayo. Akala nila yun ang that will put him down. Kamali sila. Wrong move.
Meanwhile, Duterte's daughter Kitty addressed a photo showing her holding a U.S. passport while visiting her father at the ICC detention center, saying she has nothing to explain about it.
I don't mind them actually. I'm a Filipino citizen, so yeah, I don't have to explain since I'm a private citizen.
Kasi
or hindi
nag-trending yung photo niya yun na nandiyan siya sa tapat ng The Hague. Hindi ko alam kung galing na siya or papunta pa lang to visit her father. May hawak nga siyang passport, US passport. Oo.
Well, may point din siya. Private citizen naman ako. Pero you're also the daughter. She has to remember she's the daughter of the former president.
And this is a former president
who is against,
who's berate US.
Because he claims to fight for the sovereignty of our nation, di ba? So, all of a sudden, may US passport ka. And madami nagsasabi sa statement ni Madam Avancenia about you will go to hell. May nagsabi na isang vlogger, what hell are you talking about? Wala naman Diyos na nag-i-exist, sabi ng asawa mo, di ba? Ng common law husband mo.
Yeah, during the
height of his presidency, di ba?
I remember that.
He claimed na God, quote-unquote, was stupid, di ba? So,
anyway, these are only side statements coming from the family of President Rodrigo Duterte. Ang talagang dapat nating abangan dito ay yung pre-trial hearing, confirmation of his charges na it will take place on September pa naman, and we have been following the stories, diba, doon sa ICC The Hague, from the spokesperson, tapos doon sa kanyang legal counsel ni PRRD, si Nicholas Kaufman. Naging controversial din yung sinasabi niya na dapat daw only with government-issued IDs ng mga victims ang pansinin, ilagay doon sa kaso. Otherwise, para daw may identity. Siyempre, inobject yan ng prosecution panel, saying na anti-poor na karamihan sa mga biktima nitong alleged drug war, itong EJK killings under his administrations are in the marginalized sector. Wala silang kakayahan to get their own passport,
connecting
their
to
own
that,
government IDs.
Connected to that, Attorney Kaufman has to remember we are still of a third world nation. Karating ng sinasabi mo, na hindi tulad tayo ng bansa ng pinanggagalingan yan, lahat may ID. Pero mga dito nga, wala pang birth certificate.
Oo, kaya nga sinabi ni Attorney Butuyan, one of the 5 lawyers na accredited ng International Criminal Court, sinasabi niya, very ignorant nga daw yung naging statement na ito.
At before we go, you have to remember, para kumuha nga ng ayuda sometimes sa isang barangay, you don't need an ID. Basta kilala ka. personally...
Listahan ng barangay captain nyo doon.
Hindi, basta kilala ka ni barangay captain at nakikita ka naman na nakatira doon, you're entitled to a benefit from the barangay. So that means may mga situations na hindi mo kailangan ng ID kasi naiintindihan natin na walang access lahat sa
Anyway,
to a birth certificate.
Abangan natin ang mga development until mag-September, di ba, para dun sa kanyang confirmation.
And don't expect much September. It's not going to be explosive as movies would depict.
All right, in other news, a local industry stakeholder says the country is still in good position amid U.S. President Donald Trump's back and forth on tariffs. Here's a report.
President Donald Trump abruptly reversed course on his plan to impose steep reciprocal tariffs. Trump said he would pause reciprocal tariffs on most countries for 90 days except for China. U.S. trade duties on China will increase to a whopping 125% amid escalating trade tensions between the two countries. Meanwhile, a baseline 10% across-the-board tariff on imports remains. Also in effect is the sectoral 25% tariffs on steel, aluminum, and auto imports. Canada and Mexico will also continue facing a 25% tariff for all goods not covered by the trade agreement. On Wednesday, as the tariff hikes briefly took effect, Trump said this is one bitter pill that the world just has to swallow.
I don't want anything to go down, but sometimes you have to take medicine to fix something. I spoke to a lot of leaders, European, Asian, from all over the world. They're dying to make a deal. But I said, we're not going to have deficits with your country. We're not going to do that because to me a deficit is a loss. We're going to have surpluses or we're at worst going to be breaking even.
In an interview with A Big Story, semiconductor and electronics industries in the Philippines President Dan Lachica said the Philippines is practically still in a good position as compared to our neighboring countries.
We're at 17% and compared to China at 34%, which you said the net effect is 104%. But compared to our ASEAN neighbors, our big competitors, we're still very low. And so the even better news is that for the semiconductor industry, we're way below the radar as we don't really have any big tariffs to worry about for today anyway. And hopefully this doesn't change much in the near future.
But to safeguard the country, Lachica said the Philippines should prioritize pursuing a free trade agreement with the U.S.
Let's see what the United States does, because on one hand, Trump might change his mind. But again, as of now, it's better not to do anything and just ride on the wave of the lower tariffs. But at the sidelines, continue discussions and negotiations with establishing a free trade agreement and or re-inclusion in the GSP.
Yung sentiment ng mga businessmen dito, okay, huwag tayong magpapanik, but you have to remember kasi 17%, if you put that on yung tariff, 17% sa atin, we're still the lowest in Southeast Asia. So therefore, yung mga medyong significant ang nagtaas sa ibang country, like for example, China, baka yung chunk ng market ng China, makuha natin. Sabihin, okay, the smaller businesses, let's try doing business from the Philippines.
Mas mura kasi
and then import to the US via the Philippines because pag nanggaling sa Pilipinas, mas mababa ang tariff rate.
Parang for example daw sa Vietnam, coconuts, di ba? Tayo din naman merong coconuts. So baka daw po pwedeng sa atin na pumunta yung ibang mga bansa dahil mas mababa yung tariff.
Or kung hindi pumunta yung Vietnam to produce, to send from the Philippines, baka the US will get the coconuts na lang from the the importers in the US will get from the Philippines kasi mas mura.
Yes, yan yung sinasabi nga. Yung ibang mga naman, economists are saying, hindi daw nila alam kung saan nanggagaling yung confidence nga daw ng gobyernong ito, ng BBM admin, dun sa pagiging, parang pagiging positive nila dito sa nangyari sa mga tariff na binibigay ng US while everybody's parang nagkakagulo, natataranta, tayo daw, chill lang tayo at very positive. Well, it is important to be, to see positive things in light of what's happening right now. Ang sinasabi nila, parang it's time also for the Philippines to look into a bigger picture. Dahil in the long run, pag yung mga ibang mga bansa, yung mga corporations doon nag-struggle dahil dito sa mga tariff na to, yung mga overseas Filipino workers natin will be affected. BPO industry will be affected as well, and others na magkakaroon ng impact dito sa Pilipinas.
Well, I think naman kasi yung nanggagaling sa administration na to, it's not so much that we're chill and we're not scared. You just have to read into their statement. They did not say nothing will happen. They said it's not going to be as bad as it seems. Yun ang sinabi niya, not as bad. So that means it's still going to be bad. It's still going to be affect us. But if they portray a government or administration na nagpapanik, anong klaseng confidence ang may instill nila sa mga tao dito na nagbi-business? So you have to stimulate strong investor confidence sa country. So if the investors see the government is confident that they can make it work, out of all the Southeast Asian countries, baka okay dito, let's try and make it work
Pero
here.
ang problema kasi sa atin, mostly ng mga products nga na maapektuhan ng tariffs, may mga manufacturing industry tayo, bibihira lang yung sa atin eh. So ang mangyayari ngayon, antayin natin, magkakaroon ng meeting today, if I'm not mistaken, or tomorrow, ang DTI natin, the government with the other ASEAN country. But definitely, hindi daw, wala sa table yung usapin ng retaliation. Kasi others, meron, kasi nobody wins daw talaga sa, sa trade war.
And lastly, before we go, we have to remember, ang chunk ng GDP growth natin does not really come from exports to the US. It's malaking effect yan, magandang tulong sa atin yan, but our chunk of our GDP comes from internal consumption. Meaning, how the
wala sa atin yung end product ng mga kinakailangan.
No, in other words, internal consumption is kung ano yung kinikita ng local businesses, taxes na binabayad na sa gobyerno, doon ang karamihan ng income natin. And also, from BPO taxes. Kasi nagbabayad tayo ng tax sa BPO eh. Doon ang chunk po ng GDP growth natin. So, largely maapektuhan tayo, but not as bad as other nations.
Tignan natin, kasi nakapost naman ng 90 days, diba? Kasi nga sabi nga ni President Donald Trump, tinatawagan na siya ngayon ng mga world leaders.
Well, which is what he wanted.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
A Filipino-Chinese businessman and his driver who were kidnapped in late March were found dead in Rodriguez, Rizal on Wednesday. The victims, identified as Anson Cue, the owner of Ellison Steel in Valenzuela, and his driver, were discovered with their bodies placed in nylon bags and their faces wrapped in duct tape. The two were abducted on March 29 in Bulacan, and their Lexus LM350 was abandoned in Barangay Bahay Toro, Quezon City. The Filipino-Chinese Chambers of Commerce and Industry, Inc. has raised concerns about the growing number of such kidnappings. This incident comes shortly after another kidnapping case in February, where a 14-year-old Chinese student was also abducted and his driver was killed.
Yeah, this is actually a developing story, no? Kasi yan yung mga hinahanap nila the other day pa na businessman, and there were reports that the family paid the ransom, pero ganyan pa rin yung ginawa nila. So we have yet to know other details about this. But what I read about some of the news here is that Brigadier General Elmer Ragay was sacked as the head of the Philippine National Police Anti-Kidnapping Group following this incident. Ragay. So he is replaced by Colonel David Poclay, Deputy Chief of the Criminal Investigation and Detection.
Well, ito yung sinasabi ng iba na especially when President Bongbong Marcos announced the closure of POGOs, kailangan bantayan yung after effects nito because madaming clean up na mangyayari. In other words, of course, there's the legal aspect of POGOs, may mga legal na sinara. Pero yung mga illegal na namamayagpag dito noon during those times, meron mga Filipino counterparts dito, may mga natitira pang sindikato dito na maglilinis ng mga naiiwan nilang mga evidence. So things are already happening, kidnappings are escalating, di ba? So it's really scary how all of this is escalating. And bata, yung 14-year-old, pinutol yung, supposedly pinutol yung daliri, di ba?
Kaya nga, di ba si Teresita Ang, sinasabi niya to stop circulating mga photos, videos nito. And ganun din na nangyayari kasi following, before na makita, allegedly itong bangkay na ito, may mga videos and photos that are circulating online as well.
Yes, so, that's right.
So may yung mga kwento na the victim, itong Chinese businessman, was found last seen, isa sa mga Chinese restaurant prior to his death. May kasama daw na grupo kausap, and allegedly, apparently may mga business dealings that he had already deposited millions of money for a business deal na hindi natuloy, and the other party was asking for 50% refund or whatever. Yun yung mga nakikitang mga detalye pa. And pagkatapos nun, nawala na. And then, yun na nga, the family was allegedly in contact with the kidnappers and paid the ransom money, pero ito pa rin yung nangyari. So, we are trying to talk to somebody para po malaman natin iba pa pong mga detalye dito. But stay tuned po for other details.
All right, in other news, residents affected by the ashfall from Mount Canlaon have started cleaning up their surroundings. However, cleanup efforts are being hampered by the limited water supply, with some residents relying on a nearby river, also affected by the ashfall. Local authorities have expressed concern over the potential contamination of the river, which could pose serious health risks. In response, the city government has begun rationing and distributing clean water to affected residents.
Pero yung ash, hindi natin alam yung concentration ng sulfur. Hindi natin alam yung baka pure sulfur yun eh. Kaya yung tunawin yung yung mapatay yung tanim at saka tunawin yung yero. Bakit mo ilagay sa balat mo? Hindi safe yun.
Now, to get more details on the aftermath of Canlaon volcano's eruption, we have La Carlota City Mayor Rex Halandoon joining us today. Good morning, Mayor. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning. Good morning po. Good morning po. Good morning.
Hingi lang po kami ng update doon po sa nangyaring pagsabog nga po ng Mount Canlaon dyan. Kamusta po yung mga residente? At kamusta po? May ashfall pa rin po ba?
Hindi mga 1 to 2 hours lang yun kahapon, and then ngayon wala naman ang stop naman siya, pero that was the biggest ashfall I have ever seen dito sa La Carlota City, ever since I became mayor. More than the ashfall sang December 9, no? The initial problem would be the road, no? The road, no? Kasi parang alikabok, parang yung daan.
Yes.
At saka napektuhan yung tubig namin dito, yung sa Aral San Miguel, Aral San Miguel water system namin for domestic.
Yes,
so nagproblema low pressure or natabunan ng it was covered by sulfur or ashfall. And then today, since yesterday and then today, and then we will be rationing water sa affected barangays sa Aralan San Miguel.
Ayun, Mayor, so since sabi nyo nga affected yung water supply, have you begun checking it kung safe siya for consumption? At in the meantime po, aside from rationing sa other barangays, paano po ang magiging supply ng water natin? Meron po bang hiningin tulong sa national government?
Kasi sa La Carlota, tatlo yung source, dalawang spring, malalaking spring at saka pumping station dito sa poblasyon. So, hindi kami apektado dito sa poblasyon. Yung upper barangays lang namin, mga 6 siguro barangays, sa dalawang spring namin. Ang isang spring walang problema, yung Masulog Spring. Dito lang sa Gintubdan, Balagacay Spring sa Aral San Miguel. No? So, before under the water district yun, before sila mag-connect sa water namin, dinitest nila muna yung chemical at saka bacteriological at chemical test yung before nila i-connect sa amin. For the meantime, kami nag-ration yun ng tubig. No? So, yun ang problema namin ngayon dito sa dalawang barangay namin.
Mayor, gaano po ba kalawak yung affected nitong ashfall? At dito po ba sa inyo sa La Carlota, can you give us a data po doon po sa ilang mga pamilya po ang apektado po nitong pagsabog ng Mount Canlaon?
Okay. La Carlota has 14 barangays. Yung affected barangays namin is mga 6 barangays yung affected. Iba, makapal yung iba, yung the foot of Mount Canlaon, makapal yung iba. Manipis lang. Poblasyon, manipis lang yung parang wala or manipis lang yung sa poblasyon namin dito, the other barangays na 8, no? So, yun lang ang affected namin, na canceled yung classes, yung sa upper barangays for the last 2 days na hanggang ngayon. And then, yun, ang tubig lang ang problema namin kasi by today probably siguro, maraming part-up na dumating coming from the other LGUs na tumutulong na mag-flush out yung road namin. So water rationing na lang yung problema namin. No? At the same time, nag-decide na ako na i-cancel yung festival namin. 3 weeks from now, meron kaming festival, grand festival dito sa Horta. I-cancel ko na secondary to the eminent threat. I-postpone muna for a later date siguro yung festival namin kasi sayang na naman yung o diyan naman yung na mag-celebrate kami ng festival. Meron kaming mga constituent na walang tubig doon sa taas. Hanggang ngayon hindi pa na-solve.
Pero Mayor po, meron po ba tayong mga residente na nasa temporary shelters?
As of December 9, meron pa kaming 1,000 hanggang ngayon 1,100 individuals dito sa evacuation center namin.
Since December pa po yan,
ng mga nadagdagan ng 4 pamilya ng the other day pag-erupt, no, ang 4 na pamilya. Yung total namin probably siguro household sa 6 na barangay around household, mga 6,000 household siguro, 6,000 to 7,000 household yung sa 6 na barangay na affected.
Tsaka syempre, Mayor, isa daw ang tinututukan daw dito yung quality ng air at saka yung mga apektado in terms of magkakaroon daw, baka tumaas daw ang incidence of respiratory ailments or diseases. May na-monitor na po ba kayo ng mga senior citizens or yung mga taong compromised ang health nila sa mga possible na magiging lung diseases?
Yung quality of air natin is hindi ko ma-monitor kasi wala tayong monitor air quality. Wala pa kami naka-install ng air quality monitoring system dito sa Kwan. Pero hanggang ngayon is, meron malaking posibilidad na magproblema yung mga asthmatic na pasyente, yung mga COPD, yung emphysema. So, ang na-monitor ko lang parang 2 tao lang eh. 2 tao lang na admit ng hospital kasi naka-preposition na yung mask pag sa mga barangay, sa mga health center namin, naka-preposition in preparation kasi alert level 3 kami. No? So, nandun na yung mask, nag-distribute na lang sa every household, meron na supply na mask and then gumamit sila ng mask hanggang ngayon. So, hindi masyado yung problema sa yung health problems natin sa
Mayor,
doon sa barangay natin.
Opo, balikan ko lang po yung kaninang sinabi niyo kasi nakakabahala nga po na since December pa po itong number of families na nakatira po sa temporary shelters, and I understand sila po ay kasi nandoon malapit sa danger zone kaya po sila ngayon nasa temporary shelters. Wala po bang plano ang local government po ninyo dyan sa La Carlota na lagay na po sila sa mga bagong lugar para hindi naman po sila nandiyan sa temporary shelters lamang for the longest time?
Okay. Merong plano yung national kasi wala na kaming sariling lupa doon na lalagyan sa kanila. Merong plano yung national sa contingency plan ng National Task Force Canlaon na meron silang kukunin ng mga lupa dito na in the long term plan na kukunin nila, sabi ng OCD, kunin lang yung lupa, patayuan ng mga bahay sa Kapkwan, ng mga amenities. Yung goal na is every alert level 3, wala na tayong evacuate sa alert level 3. So meron kaming 2 sitio sa 2 barangay na sila yung nasa evacuation center.
Okay.
So merong long-term plan yung national government na gagawa ng resettlement, permanent resettlement area para sa mga evacuees ko. So hanggang ngayon hindi pa wala pa na-implement.
Wala po ba kayong alam doon po sa details, sa target po na date ng relocation nitong mga pamilya na to? Kasi I understand last week po kausap namin ang DSWD through Yusek Irene Dumlao and saying na kaya daw tumataas yung bilang ng mga nagugutom sa atin dito ay isa din daw po sa dahilan yung unrest ng Mount Canlaon. So yun po ay nakakabahala dahil of course bahay, pagkain ang apektado po sa mga residente natin dyan sa La Carlota.
Yes, totoo yun. No? So yung wala pang specific details, nag-meeting yung Task Force Canlaon ng last month, hindi ako naka-attend, pero nagsabi yung representative ko, yun ang long-term plan. Nang isang araw, pumunta dito si Regional Director ng OCD, si Semenyo, kasama yung PBOX at kasama yung MGB na nag-tour ng kasi 2 yung area na kailangan ko. sila nag-identify ng area. Sila yung OCD, MGB, Mines and Geoscience Board at saka PBOX nag-identify ng area na parang sabi nila, bahala na daw ang yung national government, yung bahala na sa lahat.
Okay.
Yung pag-expropriate or pag-buyout ng lupa at pagtayo ng amenities at sa mga houses natin for the evacuees natin. No, for the meantime, wala pang timeline yon. Ang sabi nila, baka this year or baka next year siguro. So, humingi pa nga ako, hindi pa ako nakarating yung additional na disaster fund ko na hiningi. Wala pa na national government na ibigay. So, sabi nila, within this month or next month, baka darating yung funds. Kasi we need funds to operate yung evacuation center. We're spending more or less mga 50 to 70,000 a day para ipakain doon sa mga evacuees. And it's been going on for 4 months. Malaking tulong yung probinsya kasi oftentimes 1 month sila nagpakain sa amin sa mga evacuees. And then after that, kami naman and then yung food packs ng DSWD, malaking tulong din.
Yes.
Bumibigay namin sa evacuees every other week siguro yung food packs namin. At saka ngayon humingi ako ng additional 6,000 food packs for affected household but not displaced.
Okay.
Sa 6 na barangay. All households sa 6 sa barangay kasi affected ng household. Nakuhingi ako sa DSWD at saka bibigay daw nila yung 6,000 na food packs.
Alright.
Thank you for those updates. La Carlota City Mayor Rex Halandoon for your time. We hope to talk to you again for more updates. Maraming salamat po, Mayor.
In other news, Transportation Chief Vince Dizon orders the fast-tracking of the Metro Manila-Bulacan portion of the North-South Commuter Railway. Dizon said the rail line would be a big help to commuters as it would reduce travel time from NCR to Malolos, Bulacan to a 30-minute train ride. The 147-kilometer NCR or NSCR will connect the Metro to Pampanga in the north and Laguna in the south. By the year 2045, the rail service is expected to serve 1 million passengers daily using 304 train cars and create 365,000 jobs.
President Bongbong Marcos led the distribution of financial assistance to families of uniformed personnel killed in action during a ceremony held on Araw ng Kagitingan at Camp Aguinaldo. In his speech, Marcos honored the heroism of soldiers, police officers, firefighters, and other uniformed personnel who lost their lives in service. The president also expressed frustration that even after so long, the families of fallen personnel had yet to receive adequate support. Under the Comprehensive Social Benefits Program, 62 beneficiaries received 250,000 pesos each as part of the first tranche of a total 500,000 aid package per family. Don't go away, we're not done yet. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
A group of history junkies has founded an organization aimed at opening the eyes of the youth to our rich history. Para bigyan mo ka ang balita, Mobile Journal, Mary Reyes.
Nakalimbag na pero tila nakakalimutan pa rin ang storya ng mga tumayong bayani ng bansa noong panahon ng laban at giyera. Ito ang nais baguhin ng isang grupong nakilala natin. Jose Fallanes Escoda, Jose Calugas, at Jose Abad Santos. Kilala niyo ba sila? Maaaring simpleng pangalan lang sila sa inyong pandinig, pero ilan lang ang mga taong ito sa libu-libong bayani noong World War II na ipinaglaban ang kalayaan ng ating bansa. Ngunit sa kasulukuyan, mukhang nakakalimutan na ng marami. Kaya naman para hindi mabaon sa limot ang storya ng kanilang kagitingan, binuo ni na Desiree Benipayo mula sa Quezon City ang Philippine World War II Memorial Foundation taong 2018. Layo nito na sa pamamagitan ng paggawa ng seminars, film documentary showings, hanggang sa pagsulat ng mga libro at pagbahagi ng mga sulatin ng researchers at authors ay patuloy na matututunan ng mga Pilipino, lalo na ng kabataan, ang World War II history ng bansa.
If you look at the curriculum for yung history now, for Philippine history for grades 5 and 6, diba? wow, 1 or 2 sessions lang yung World War II. So what will the children know? They don't even know what bataan means, di ba?
Binubuo ng mga profesional, history enthusiasts, at illuminaries or experts tulad ni historian Dr. Ricardo Jose, kaisa nila ang Philippine Veterans Affairs Office sa paglaganap ng kamalayan tungkol sa World War II. Nagtayo rin sila ng World War II Library sa Barangay Bahay Toro QC na pinuno ng lagpas 300 mga libro para sa mga estudyante o researchers na nangangailangan ng resources. Kaya kahit pa mga haka-haka in the past, kayang-kayang i-debunk.
There is this one fake news, no? Yung kung iahalin tulad natin sa ngayon, na lagi, umikot ka sa Maynila, sabihin mo na, naku, grabe yung mga Hapon, no, ng World War II. Ang lagi sasabihin sa'yo, hindi naman sila yung malupit, yung Koreano ang malupit. That is so not true. Wala talagang Korean conscripts na dumating dito who are gun-toting. Kasi, mababa ang tingin sa kanila din ng mga Hapon.
Isa lamang ang kanilang mga advocacy efforts sa mga paraan upang patuloy na bigyang pugay ang ating war veterans at iba pang mga bayani noon, lalo na sa panahong talamak ang fake news at mapalinlang na impormasyon.
Well, hindi dapat nire-revise yung history, di ba? So, yan yung problema, that revisionism is so hard to combat. It's really very important for us to know and to remember our World War II history. You should never forget. It was a dark part of our history, but also a glorious one because tayo rin ang lumaban para sa bayan.
Pagdating sa kasaysayan, hindi porket nakalipas na ang mga nangyari ay dapat na itong kalimutan. Dapat itong itinuturo at ipinapasa sa mga susunod na henerasyon dahil ang kalayaan na meron tayo ngayon ay dahil din sa kagitingan ng mga Pilipino noon. Mobile journalist Marimon Reyes po, hatid ang mukha ng balita.
Game 2 of the PVL All-Filipino Conference Finals is happening today. The Petrogas Angels and the Creamline Cool Smashers will continue their best-of-3 series at 6:30 p.m. Creamline will try to bounce back after the Angels took Game 1 in a thrilling 5-set match. Before that, Game 2 of the Battle for Bronze between the Akari Chargers and the Choco Mucho Flying Titans will kick off at 4 p.m. Akari won Game 1 in another exciting 5-set showdown.
Meanwhile, San Miguel best Meralco in retro game for the 50th anniversary celebration of the league. San Miguel's behemoth Junmar Fajardo threw his weight around and lifted the Beermen past the Bolts 110-98. The 8-time most valuable player put up a vintage performance, a perfect complement to the retro jerseys sported by both squads. Meanwhile, fans were given treats like PBA at 50 commemorative t-shirts, cheaper lower box seats, and general admission tickets.
Kaya-kaya ng PBA mag-100. Dire-diretso naman kasi nakita mo paano tangkilikin ng mga fans ang basketball, lalo na ang PBA. Hindi naman tatagal ng 50 years kung wala din kayo at wala yung mga fans.
Naku, nakita mo
Edad mo na pala yung PB.
Oo, 75. A few months lang ang difference namin.
Hindi ka pala kami ng 50.
I'm proud of it, di ba? Pinamaliit mo yung edad ko.
Hindi ka pinamaliit.
Sinishame
Pero bakit hindi tayo na gano'n
pero
nanood?
November 30 kasi ako 75. Yung PBA started as Mika. Hindi siya PBA, MICAA yung Mika. And then, yung nakita yung font, yung mga font kanina, gano'n noon yun yung pinapanood namin PBA sa 80s and 90s. Tapos yung announcer, parang sa panahon, hindi, walang kabuhay-buhay yung announcer noon. Parang ganito, kunyari, Patrimonio, 3 points.
Ganun lang.
Foul,
Ngayon,
Jaworski, out of the playing court.
Ganun lang.
Nung bata kasi ako, yun ang naririnig ko lagi. Jaworski, out of the playing court. Yun ang kinalakihan ko. So, nung naglalaro kami sa kalye, ganun ang mga namin.
Di ba dati maikli yung shorts?
It brings
Bakit
back a
hindi
lot.
tayo nanood?
Maikli na shorts ngayon.
O nga, hindi ibig ko sabihin before, di ba, tas naging mahaba.
Dahil si Jordan nagpauso ng mahaba. Ngayon, balik sa maikli.
Pero I wanted to watch pa naman.
Di ba, kayo na yan, madami pa yan. In 50 years from now, we'll watch again. Anyway, before we let you go, I would like to leave you with a quote. In 3 words, I can sum up everything I've learned about life. It goes on. A quote from Robert Frost.
Ito naman,
And
life goes on.
That wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
I'm Angelo Castro III. We are One News.
All sides, all the time.